Hey, what's up, guys? Aaron, Dom
Dominic.
here. Getting back to work on the boosted coupe here. Today we're going to try to accomplish a couple different things. Dom's going to get to work on getting the head bolted onto the block. Last time we left off, you guys saw we got the block pretty much done. Bottom end's done. We've got the block guard in, so we're ready to keep moving forward on that and get that thing done. Done. I'm going to be doing something else. I'm going to be working on the engine bay of the coupe so that we can get the whole area prepped for that engine to drop in. We definitely don't want to get it done and not have a place to put it. So I'm going to be working on some paint prep on the cross member there, maybe the steering rack, things like that. We're just going to try to hit it from all fronts today. So yeah.
Enjoy the build, guys.
Yep, thank you.
So we're back here at the D16 getting ready to put this old head on, and yeah, pretty straightforward process. Looked at the Honda book. We're going to go ahead and follow the recommended torque sequence. These are the ARP head studs. So ARP says to torque them to 60 foot-pounds torque. So I will stagger this, do a 25 pull and then a 60 pull.
One sweeping motion. We want to do them all in the torque sequence like we said in the book to the first stage, and then from 25 all the way to 60 on our second stage in one cool sweeping motion.
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny to watch somebody try to do a 60-foot pull in one shot.
You've got it in you. I know you do. I'm just kidding.
It'd be kind of, they're like walking around the block.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Yep.
Cool.
Alright, so got that head brake cleaned off. We're good there. Now it looks like our block guard is still below the cylinder itself, so that's good. She's going to stay put. And I guess we can go ahead and start putting the ARP Ultra Torque on here.
And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do some work off camera. I'm going to go back to the engine bay like we talked about in the beginning. I'm going to go get the subframe prepped, the rear lower subframe. That way we can get it painted, get the brain fart. The rack in, so we can get his rack bolted in. He's got a brand new rack we're going to put in. So I'm going to go work on that while he gets his head on. That way we're attacking it from all fronts so that we can get this thing going.
Heck yeah, brother. Thank you.
Kill some tires. All right, brother.
Kill some tires. Can't wait. Explode some transmissions.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Feels like the threads are decent. Doesn't feel like there's any issues. The tap started in pretty well. Basically, we're not trying to retap any threads here. We're just trying to use the tap's cutting ability to clean it up. Dom has his ARP lubricant in there. I'm not really worried. If that wasn't in there, I would use something like this. It's a multi-purpose cutting fluid. Basically, just takes some of the friction off of the tap, so we're not going to gall while we try to clean the threads up. Or even if you were tapping a hole right off the bat, you wouldn't gall up the new threads you were putting in or the hole. So feels like this is cleaning up. Feels like it was maybe just one of the first threads or one of the first two threads. Doesn't feel like there's any major issues here. I don't think this is going to be a huge deal. So what I'll do now is back the thread out, the tap out. And yeah, I can back that out by hand. There was never really any huge spots where I was super concerned along the way, so I feel like that's going to be a pretty good set of threads there.
Yeah, this had been sitting for a while too. So.
Yeah, pulling this out, there's not a lot there. I'm not getting a lot of metal shavings or anything like that. I mean, you can really see there's really nothing major there. I'm not super worried about that. What I am going to do, however, is flip this block again, let gravity assist us here, Get a little bit of brake cleaner up in that hole, and then some air pressure.
Oh.
Pulled a stinky Pete there.
Whistling at me.
Yep.
Try to get the brake fluid and not hit the block.
And then get that grease off of that there De La Hoochie. Okay guys, so that's hand threading in now. Super happy with that. Threads feel really stable. Everything seems really acceptable there.
It didn't do that before.
Yeah, and before you couldn't. You just, you know how it is, you guys. You go to start a bolt in or a stud in, you get that first thread and it either tries to kick the bolt off cockeyed, or it just kind of gets tight and doesn't want to go in. And that happened. Dom called it. He stopped because the last thing we want to do, is strip something out and have to have that helicoiled. We could do it here. Obviously, it would just be a process of drilling it out, tapping it, putting the helicoil in there. But again, it's just one of those things where it's a time killer. So we did it right. We stopped, made sure we checked it, and that's the way to do it, man. That's the exact way to do it.
I'm so glad that was good. On the old engine and the coupe, when I first got it, it seemed like any bolt you took off was either the wrong bolt, or it was already stripped, or it was just one after another after another.
It was bad. I mean, it was like every week we were doing something. We were like, well, we'll have to helicoil that. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to helicoil that. So when Dom went to do this build on that old block where this engine mount was compromised, it was actually chipped off. So we would have to literally weld the block, tap a new hole, get some threads back in it. There was just all kinds of that stuff. So he actually went on the hunt for a new block, which, as you guys know, they're not super hard to find. It's a little bit harder to find one that's in good shape and that's not, in the same condition his was. So he went on the hunt for one. He found this one, and the machine shop went through it, checked all the specs out, decked it, ran a hone down the cylinders. Everything was just super straight on this block, and barring that's the first issue we've had right there. So not too bad at all.
Nope.
Alright guys, so what we looked at here is, first of all, we had one stud the threads were compromised on. All these studs are same length, they're all equal length. One of these holes does not drop as deep with the threads. It's got a depth stop on it to compensate for the spot on the head, sorry Dom, where the nut sits taller in the casting. So you'll see one sits taller. That's just how that is, because of the way that this is. So actually we have, if you'll look, all of these, so this one, and this one sit slightly taller because of this chamber that runs through here. So all of these sit slightly lower because there's no chamber for them. So these holes have a depth stop to them. Basically we can't thread these in as far, they hit the bottom. These are open and they thread down as far as the threads will allow them. So we're good there, everything's good, everything checks out, everything looks like it's in the right spot. Yeah, so now we're ready to drop the gasket on, and Dom can do the rest. So I just stepped in to help him clean up that thread. I think you're set, man. I think you're good to go.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna get back to wet sanding the subframe and getting it cleaned up and prepped for paint so that we can get that going at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you for helping me with that.
No sweat, man. Let me know if you need any help.
Absolutely. Yeah, that definitely scared me a little bit there. I didn't know what, but after looking at that head, there's definitely that stepped area. So. Okay, we'll go ahead and put this back to top dead center. ahead and put this head gasket on. Alright guys, I'm back. I had to make a quick pit stop at the auto parts store. I had to get an adapter, 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter. I forgot that the heads of these are 12 point, so the only 12 millimeter sockets I have is the 3/8, so had to go get that. So we've got the washers on there. Now we can go ahead and put the nuts on. Go ahead and get these started.
Alright guys, so we've got the headset on like Dom showed you. He's got all the nuts hand tightened down. And like we talked about earlier, we're going to step this. We're going to go 25 and then all the way to 60. So we're going to do that now. We've got our 1/2 inch torque wrench, our 12 point on there with a small extension. This torque wrench actually has a compensation setting on it, but with that length it's negligible, so I'm not going to worry about it. We might be 1/3 of a pound off. So.
And another thing, as I've been standing back and looking at this here, I really wanted to do a white block, but the problem is, I mean, just touching it with my dirty hands, it's stained the paint already. So I think I'm gonna have to bail out on the white block. And also with setting the aluminum head on the white block, you know, I would need to paint the head as well. It just doesn't work together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out what color I want to go with. I might actually do a gray like Aaron has over here. So I'm gonna get this head on. We'll get it all buttoned up, and then we'll probably tape it off and then paint it later. So just wanted to share that with you guys. But I've got the torque wrench set to 25 pounds, and I'll go ahead and follow this sequence, starting at the center.
Yeah, white block, you know, we could have worked everything with gloves, been super careful. We weren't, whether it was because we didn't want to or we didn't care to, I don't know, but, you know, we'll see. You're on the fence kind of, huh?
I really want white. I think it would look amazing in the red bay.
It would look really good.
It would look so good, but the problem is I just foresee it getting so much dirtier, or so dirty just after the fact. So we got the first one at 25. I could actually feel it tightening on the bottom as I went through the torque sequence. I could feel it sitting down on the bottom portion. My numbers dropped for a second and I could feel it sitting down. You spin my head right around. So we got those two middles, and then we are going to go to, let's see, 1, 2. This one, 3. Say in the center one. So
Yep.
1, 2, 3,
Yep.
4.
Yep. So 3, 4. It's an exciting process right here, guys.
Oh yeah.
Just wait. You're anticipating that vibration and that beep, aren't you? You see those lights? It's like lining up at the tree at the old drag strip.
Yep.
And I mean the
Not
drag
the-
strip,
oh,
not
okay.
the
Oh.
drag strip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So we got 1, 2, 3, and then we have number 4 right here. Find Aaron at the drag strip on the Saturday night.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. Hey, so I was talking to a good friend of ours on Instagram. He's kind of a local, so 5 straight down, a local enthusiast on building stuff too. He does all kinds of stuff. He works on all kinds of stuff. I think he does some, turn and wrench out of his own shop. He wanted to hit the junkyard locally here tomorrow, and so I told him if he didn't mind us inviting ourselves, might tag along and bring the viewers.
I'm down.
Cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So see what's good, see what's going on. Maybe see if we can snag some parts. I don't know. I need some stuff for my 1G CRX. You probably need some stuff for the coupe. So we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be good.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. Yeah, I think that'd be good. I need to get those headlight clips anyway.
Yeah. I'm gonna look for a header panel for the 1G and. Cool.
Awesome, guys. We got the head torqued down. Final stage, 60 pounds. And that should be good.
Yep.
ARP head studs. Everything's brand new. And should be pretty solid from here on out. All we gotta do is put the cams in and
Torque everything down there. Cruising. Cruising.
almost ready to put this bad girl back where she belongs.
I know, we need to. We need to.
But we need to paint this. I'm thinking, what do you think? We need to paint it.
It needs to be painted. It needs to be cleaned and painted. It's up to you. You got to decide what you want to do. White, a challenge that you have with white, or something like this cast coat aluminum color I went with. You just got to decide what you want to do.
That does look pretty good. I just don't know how it's going to look on red.
Dope. Silver and red. Come on.
Yeah.
Look at those Optima red top batteries. Just kidding. They don't sponsor us, by the way. I wish they did, but they don't. Alright, guys. So we're going to get the cam and all the rockers and everything in right now. So we've got pretty basic. We've got the cam that we're going to put in. We've got a new seal on it. Then we're going to drop the assembly down, get everything torqued down. So as per everything we do on here, on these journals, we've got some assembly lube. We don't want anything dry when it starts up. We do have a new seal going in here. I like to put a little bit of Honda Bond on these. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's what I do. So first, before I drop that cam and that brand new seal down, I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit on there. And that seal's got a pretty snug fit, especially when you go torquing down on those to their specified torque. So we don't need to go too crazy with Honda Bond, but we definitely want to get something in there. Like I said, it depends on how you guys feel about it, but I know that in the past when I've done it, it definitely helps to have a little bit on there. We'll simply just drop that in there. I pre-lubed, so I pre-installed this seal over the cam. I lubed this with a little bit of engine assembly lube just so we weren't putting our seal on dry. It can damage the seal surface. I had inspected the sealing surface of the cam just to be sure that there were no issues there. There's no groove or anything worn into it. Like we've talked about before, this setup was in pretty good shape. This head was actually in really good shape. There weren't too many issues there. Now I'm going to take and lube this side of this where these journals, where the top cap's going to come down and sit on here. And then just straight across the top. Alright, so we've got plenty of assembly lube, plenty of assembly lube on this. I also put it on top of the valves where the rockers were going to strike. Again, any surface that's going to have contact when that thing starts right off, we want it lubed. We don't want any issues. So we've got our assembly here. It's been pretty well cleaned up. Everything's been looked at. Everything looks to be in decent shape. No real issues to be noted. We've got all our hardware clean. Actually, let's do this. Make sure that this cam is lined up and everything's good to go there. Pull those guys out. Alright. Put a little bit of, I'm going to cheat here. Put a little bit of Honda Bond in the corner there. And in the corner there. And just a little skim coating across the top of the seal there. So I focused it in these corners. A lot of times when those tighten down, that's where the issue lies. You know, a lot of times on the D series, it's this one here in these corners. On the B series, obviously you have the two cams, so on those cam caps is where it's an issue. We're going to take our assembly here. We've got dowels. We've checked all our dowels. They all are to be in their appropriate spot. Everything goes to a certain spot. So that's something we got to make a notation of. Another thing we want to check is that all of our VTEC rockers are in the right position when dropping this in. Otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to bind up. So finagle that in a little. That guy's good to go, good to go. Just kind of set it down. Obviously we're going to have, this cam is going to be turned at some point, so we're going to have some tension on some valves and rockers against the cam. So what we want to do is we want to get all our hardware in. We want to tighten everything down evenly in the sequence that we would torque this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our trademark bucket oil, get a little bit of oil on these guys, set them down in there, get them all set in first.
Now, would it be good to put oil on any of the springs or anything like that?
You could.
You know, would it be good to dump any oil in that head?
I mean, you could. We've got assembly lube on any contact surface. And guys, I just noticed I wasn't paying attention here. So if you look.
Got one of the lifters. Yep.
Turned. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to double check myself now because I wasn't paying attention. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. VTEC's all right how it should be.
And these clips, those are supposed to be going straight up, or?
They just keep tension on this. So basically you can see right here between the plug and where it sits, they're perfectly shaped to sit there. So there's no interference in that area. So it's not going to interfere with anything, so that's a good spot for those to sit.
Dude, this thing's cooking, man.
It is. Did you get those? Yep, you did. Of course you did. Thank you, sir.
Yep. No, thank you,
Doctor.
Doctor.
Okay, so this side over here is the short side. So you can see here the distance here and the distance here. So we've got our smaller bolts here. We've got the shorter ones and the taller ones. So if you've labeled your engine when you've removed so we have our BMS race pulley on. We've got our horizon marks set. Everything looks good there. We've got our, obviously our piston on top dead center. So like I said, I'm going to go through and keep tightening these down in the sequence that they want, 2 turns at a time till everything's touched down and doesn't feel like it's binding. So in the book, obviously we do the outside ones first and then we start on the inside ones. So I've just got 2 ratchets set up. It's easier than trying to switch back and forth all the time. So put our socket on, continue on. So number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
You just checking them again?
Just double and triple checking them. 10.
Was that a slip?
That's my torque wrench.
Oh.
It's got a tooth on it that I think might be a little compromised. After this build, it will be time to go in for a recalibration anyway, and we'll get it all taken care of at that time. I know it's accurate, I just have a tooth slip. So yeah, all I was doing there, guys, is in the torque sequence. Once I've reached my torque, the next time I go back, there's no change in torque. I go back a 3rd time, run through everything. Now I know that I'm just triple checking it. I give everyone 3 clicks. Again, the smaller ones, the 8mm bolts on the outsides here, with the one that covers the cam seal and the end over here where the distributor seal comes in. Those are torqued to on a D16z6 like this one, 14 foot-pounds, and these ones here in the sequence that they're meant to be torqued at, those are the 6mm. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. So the smaller ones, the 6mm, we did 2.9, and then the bigger ones we did 2.14. So that's torquing that down, guys. As long as we have our engine set and our timing on our cam set like we did, and we triple checked it. Dom and I both looked at it, made sure it was right, because even though I looked at it, it's always good to have somebody else. You saw there was no binding issues when we dropped this assembly down in. We can do that by, like we did, we kind of went through the sequence and gave them 2 turns each, no binding. 2 turns more, no binding. The assembly finally touched down, there was no binding, so we're good to go. It hit torque with no issues. Very happy about that. So again, good to go. And this assembly's installed and another part of the engine built and done.
Oh yeah.
All right, brother.
Super stoked. So we're probably gonna call it for tonight. Pretty late here at the shop, but next, you know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what we're gonna do next. I definitely want to get it painted so that that's done. But yeah, keep building, guys, and stay true to what you do.
Yep. So for Build Factor at Rising Sun Auto Works, I'm Aaron. This is Dom. Keep building, guys. See ya.